I was sitting and thinking about all this talk about defund the police, and I'm for them very much, for that idea. But and then it got me thinking, what will the government replace it with? Because the government will always find a way to enforce its edicts. So it's are we they're going to have like a military police state, with it being just an expansion of National Guard or military or something like that, or just just be police be given a new name. I think you got to take it further than defund the police. You got to defund the government. So otherwise, you're just gonna have. I think things could go from bad to worse real quick if the government decides to step things up a bit, because they're not going to get rid of their means of revenue. And what's that like? By that I mean like tickets, traffic tickets is one of the big way they get a big revenue for local governments. So that's how they fund that. And of course, who's the one that enforces that? It's the police. And so I mean, you get a lot of these situations where people are put in a dangerous situation because of these ridiculous laws, or where there's no victim. Now you're gonna have people who are gonna be apologists for these laws and be like, well, you gotta make sure people are safe, but it's more of a security theater. I mean, you be on the highway or the streets all the time. There's someone always going faster than they're supposed to. It is the law. I mean, the law is not throttling them. They're not. I mean, we're not having restrictor plates on our vehicles so that we don't go past a certain speed, depending on where we are. And there's these traffic laws and create a situation to where, well, this person's driving suspiciously or whatnot. They'll use an excuse to pull someone over, and usually it's a minority or whatnot. But sometimes it is a white person and whatnot. And so you get into these situations where people could be put in a dangerous situation. Years ago, about 8 years ago, 8 years, because it was the last time Ron Paul ran for president. A friend of mine, a few of his buddies were delegates to the state convention in Nebraska, and that was held in Grand Island that year. And they got pulled over on just speeding or something like that, something ridiculous like that. And my friend was just doing his duty as being someone who has a concealed carry permit that he had. You let him know, I'm just letting you know that I have a concealed gun in the glove box, and that I have a concealed carry license for that. And so the cop started just getting really panicky and whatnot, and just kind of like keeping them there, and then went to radio it in and all that. And they're just kind of like having to force to sit there, like they're being held against their will to sit there until he gets permission to figure out what's going on. I mean, they shouldn't have been able to put in that, because that could have been elevated real quickly if he got an itchy trigger finger, and someone could have potentially died in a situation, or been severely injured. So you get these, ridiculous laws that put people in danger. They're going to get ticketed. People are going to get ticketed or getting put in a dangerous situation, like I said. But that's how these local governments, they make a lot of their monies through this ticketing. So, they're not going to get rid of that revenue source. They're going to figure out another way to do that, and whether it's ending policing as we know it and then calling it something else, they're just going to give it a new name. That's all it is. They want to have someone to enforce their edicts, because they're not going to give up power just like that. No, there's no way. They're going to push their thumb down on you any way they can. And this is what I say: if you really want to defund the police, defund the government, because there's no other way. You're otherwise the government will just back lack of a better term, they'll just continue putting the knee on the throats of everyone. So just think about that. If you ain't found down for defunding the government, you're that's just a little that's just more people going to be put in more dangerous situations, and lives are going to be lost. As tragic as that is, and unnecessary it is, there's more we can do, and defunding the police is not the step. It's a step, but it's not the solution. It's not going to fix it all. Even if you wouldn't defund the police, there's so many solutions that will cause a lot more. Oh God, I'm just looking at this angle. I'm not the way I look. My face looks. Sorry. Ending the drug war is one of the big ones. You got to do that. If you're a big proponent of the Black Lives Matter movement, that's one of the solutions you should be pushing for. Is ending the drug war, because so many in the Black community and other minorities are affected by that at a huge rate in comparison to white people. I'm not hating on white people. Obviously, I'm pretty white. I'm about got a little Cherokee in me, but not a whole lot, but more than Elizabeth Warren. So let's just say one out of every 32 times I dance, it rains. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. No. So ending the drug war, ending qualified immunity is a big step, because that puts it in equal footing and equally under the law. Because we really need equal justice under the law, and if the police are going to be the ones who are going to enforce the law, then they ought to be treated equally under the law. Ending a lot of victimless, just decriminalizing a lot of victimless crimes, especially sex work, would be a big one. That one just is just good, just across the board, and especially with victimhood. There's a lot of women who there's a lot of women who are prostitutes, even men that are prostitutes or gigolos or whatnot, and they often are the victims of crime against them, whether that be rape or other violent crimes. And are afraid to come to police or to get help for it because their career is illegal. So, I mean, you take a lot of that out of the shadows, and then you get a lot more people help. So that's a victimless crime. So, like I said, any of the drug work, any qualified immunity, legalizing sex work, yeah, even a lot of these traffic laws, a lot of these traffic laws are just kind of ridiculous. That'll put a lot more people out of dangerous situations with the police. And not only that, it's just a massive tax on the poorest. I mean, if you get pulled over and you get a ticket, I mean, what you're looking at a minimum of $100. I mean, even more. And not every jurisdiction has where you can take like the stop or whatever class, which is just about as much as the ticket, if not more. I mean, the only benefit to doing it is you don't get the points on your license. But then if you don't, if you're not in a jurisdiction that doesn't have it or whatnot, I mean, and if you live paycheck to paycheck, that's a hard thing to pay for. I mean, we got pulled over when we got pulled over in Kansas, because we were looking around, couldn't find a sign for, the speed limit, and we were driving over a dam, but apparently, and there was like a sheriff ahead of us, and he pulled over, and we passed by him, and then he pulls up on us and siren lights on and pulls us over, because apparently the speed limit is 35 going over a dam in the state of Kansas. And we were looking around for signs, didn't see anything. And obviously, and the way he was saying that we were as fast as we were going didn't make sense either, because if we were going as fast as he said we would have been like right up underneath him. I mean, he was a good, several car lengths ahead of us. So, I mean, if we were going as fast as he said he was, then he was going as fast as well, if not faster. And I mean, that's another thing too I've noticed with a lot of police. And I'm not gonna trash all cops. I have family members that are cops. I have some cousins that are cops, and friends and stuff like that. So I'm not going to trash all cops, but there are some that take advantage of the badge, the siren, the lights. I've seen several who've just put the siren on, lights, go through a stoplight, and then it goes off. And like, obviously the emergency was not done with in that situation. You were just going through the lights. I've seen them going out on West Dodge. If anyone from Omaha knows, or in Omaha areas knows, it's a major street. But out in West Dodge, it's basically almost like, in terms of lanes, it's almost like a highway. And just seeing cops just blowing down Dodge Street, going, it's got to be at least 60 miles an hour in a 45 mile an hour zone or something like that. And no sirens, no lights, just driving, at speeds that would get anyone else pulled over. And so we have to really make sure that we, people are, especially police, are seen as equals under the law. We have to end qualified immunity, end the drug war, legalize sex work. Otherwise, every other thing we do is not a solution, or at least not a good solution, not a permanent solution. Like I said, defund the police is, someone else is just going to enforce the law. Someone else is going to be enforcing the edicts of those in power. And it's not good enough to vote just Republican or just Democrat. It's because people have been voting that way for over 150 years, 160 some years. You get, Team R, Team D, and what gets fixed? I mean, they're basically two sides of the same coin. I mean, they come together on certain issues, and it's usually the same issues where we get screwed. Whether and it's some situation where it's some kind of emergency or whatnot. It's whether it was post 9/11 and we need the Patriot Act, and just about everyone voted for it. Or we did the rush to war in Iraq. We need to go to war, and put all these young men and women in a dangerous situation they don't need to be in over some BS propaganda to rah people, people to Syria and NSA and all this stuff that just they'll unite on for some reason, or even more lately with COVID and whatnot, where it's we gotta all stay home, be scared, and don't go anywhere. Don't even protest that you have to be stuck at home and you're not making any money because unless you're considered essential, you don't get to work. And unless the government enforcers kill somebody, and then go outside and protest. And then and then I'm not saying you shouldn't be out protesting. People should be out protesting government every day of the week, every day, every week, every month, and not just when they murder someone because they were put in a situation that they shouldn't have been in, because the enforcers had to come out and enforce some law or whatnot, and in most cases a victimless law. I mean, like, look at Eric Garner and when he was killed up in New York for selling loosies, which are loose cigarettes, because there was a black market created because of the cigarette tax in New York City. I mean, he was a victim of tax enforcement. So don't defund the police, defund the government, because otherwise someone else is going to be putting the knee down on the people's throats. Whether it's it's National Guard or military police, something. It's I just fear we can go from bad to worse in this situation. Just I know it's me rambling, but it's just something that I feel it's got to get out there. We just have to discuss solutions, and solutions that are helpful. I mean, defunding the police sounds all good and all, and there's no police and whatnot, but like I said, they're going to find someone else to enforce their edicts, their laws, their proposals, because they're going to try to maintain power any way they can, and bring in their revenue any way they can. So just defund the government.